exactly. So tonight we're going to be talking about the BMFA, but also about drones, because one of the things that people won't know is actually that I do know Chris of old, as I was saying before, that we do know each other from a BMFA club over in Farnham, in actual fact. And Chris was one of the first people that told me anything about drone rules, actually. And I used to be like a little kid tugging his trouser leg. Chris, can I fly over here? Can I do this with my drone? Can I do Chris? But which is why I think you were the perfect choice to become the drone support officer with the BMFA, because you are literally an open book to everybody. You've got so much experience, so much knowledge with drones, and you know you are a nice guy. You drones aren't a pest to you, if that makes sense. And indeed the entire RC hobby, because I know that you've got fingers in many pies. Yeah, indeed. So could you tell us a little bit, update us to those that won't know, because we now have this new sort of sub brand name coming into it of British Drone Flyers. Could you tell us a bit about what that is?
So essentially the British Drone Flyers is best way to describe it is a membership type for the British Model Flying Association. So when you join the British Drone Flyers, you are a BMFA member for all intents and purposes. You get exactly the same support. You get the same insurance package. You get the same access to the BMFA Article 16. But what we've changed is taken away some of the stuff that might be less relevant to drone flyers. So when you look at the statistics of the BMFA, we have over 30,000 members in over 800 clubs. There's a large number of people now that are probably just flying drones that might not necessarily be in a club and might not be interested in model helicopters or model aeroplanes or some of the sort of, the chuck and duck kind of free flight models. So we've created a membership that's probably more appropriate to them. So rather than getting a copy of the British Model Flying Association news, they'll get a digital copy of a British Drone Flying news. So we've been really original on the name, because you can tell there, just ripped their name off completely. But essentially it will be a digital publication focused on things like cameras, camera usage for drones and stuff like that, racing drones and anything drone related, but it won't have all the model airplane stuff in. Excellent. The other big key difference in the membership is it's a 12-month rolling membership from the day you join. So a lot of the people that are flying drones probably aren't in a club, so they're probably less interested in the January to December membership type that goes with a lot of clubs.
Yes.
So 12 months from the day they join is probably a little bit more relevant to them.
Indeed, and it's an interesting prospect, because of course, again, even though you're a drone flyer and you're part of the British Drone Flyers, there's nothing, of course, stopping you from joining a local club as well, of course, is there? Because you are, it is still a fully fledged account, as it were. You are still a full member, but you're essentially tweaking things to the audience so that that there is a hard copy magazine that comes through every month. Is it every month, the magazine at the moment, or is it every quarter?
The BMFA news is every 2 months. You get
every
6
2 months.
copies
Yes,
a year.
yeah. That's it. Yeah. I thought a month was too often in my mind, and it is a fascinating. I'm holding it up here. It is a fascinating read, and it is fantastic, and it has articles from people all across the hobby and experts as well. But of course, as you're saying, which is quite right, for a lot of drone flyers, that coming through the door is a waste, essentially, because then they don't want to know, the latest trends in scale helicopters, or that there's this flying day on and that flying day on. So it is. I think it's a clever idea to sort of aim in towards the drone hobby specifically. Is there? And of course, you're working as the drone support officer. Is there also sort of the other side to that? Is there also going to be work that you're going to be doing from the point of view of specifically trying to promote drones in the hobby, etc.?
Absolutely. So the BMFA itself, the key thing to point out with the BDF, the British Drone Flyers, by making it part of the BMFA rather than its whole separate thing, is when you're part of the BDF, you can still fly model airplanes, you can still fly model helicopters, so the insurance and all the support. So if you were to join a BMFA affiliated club, your BDF membership is still a BMFA membership for that as well. So there isn't any separation in that. It's just the offering that we offer in terms of information. But to answer the question there in terms of support, that's why we were at Weston Park. So the BDF is fairly new. It's only been running a few months now. And one of the first things we've done here, other than getting the BDF news up and running and getting ourselves out on the internet, was we were up at Weston Park to support the British Drone Racing Association. So we helped partially fund the live stream monitor that was set up on site. So they had a large LED screen so that everyone could see the live feed that was going out.
Excellent.
But we also wanted to break down some of the myths that are out there. And there's a nasty little myth that sneaks around the internet that the BMFA don't like drones. We do. We love drones. There's a few other myths that, the BMFA have never done anything for drones. 10 years ago, I was part of the special interest group with Andy Simmons from the BMFA, where we actually set out the document to basically get the exemption to make FPV legal, because obviously putting the goggles on, you're not line of sight. So we made the exemption with that in the original sort of turnaround. Since then, we've done things like the Queen's Cup. We got that awarded to the drone racing for Popham. So there's a lot of stuff that we've done. I think it's kind of slipped under the carpet. Because it wasn't necessarily publicised well by the BMFA.
No, indeed, and a very small thing like the Article 16 authorization, of course, which of course the BMFA were a very big hand in gaining, which is fantastic. It is interesting actually, because there is that sort of stigma that actually the BMFA are these old men in the field just with balsa wood, which again,
the woolly jumper brigade.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the woolly jumper brigade. Some of the woolly jumper brigade have helped me more as a drone hobbyist than so-called droners, frankly. So everybody's welcome in this hobby, but it isn't really like that. That hasn't been my experience, which of course that brings me nicely onto the fact that we do know each other from the Farnham Model Helicopter Club, where at that time we were both members, and that to me is actually a really great club, because it's a fantastic advert for the BMFA, because there is every single different type of flyer there. You have your scale flyers, you have your 3D helicopter flyers, and there is even a WhatsApp group just for the drone flyers as well. There's a whole sort of ecosystem, and people do bits of each of them. Members will have a scale heli and they'll have a couple of DJI drones, etc. It isn't, and to me, it's something I've mentioned a lot on the channel before, as regular viewers will know, but the whole ecosystem of the BMFA, and especially the local clubs, was very, very important to me in my foundations in the hobby, because I had these people that I could talk to, like yourself. Like I used to bore your socks off asking, can I fly here and can I fly there? But it's that support system that actually I always say to people, if you can find a good heli club that also accepts multi-rotors, then it's a good support system, frankly. Just having those people that you can go and see on a Saturday and have a chat with, and it gave me a lot of confidence with my little Parrot Bebop back in the day, which is fantastic.
The BMFA's always been the strength in numbers. And you look at the fact it's their centenary next year. So 2022 marks 100 years since the formation. The BMFA started as the SMAE, became the BMFA, and then early 90s, I believe it was, we got model flying recognised as a sport. And that's where the BMFA kind of sits. It's the governing body for the sport of model flying. And for us, we don't distinguish between somebody that wants to build a small model out of balsa and wind it up with an elastic band, to somebody that wants to fly a 20-kilo jet turbine, to somebody that wants to fly a helicopter, to somebody that wants to fly a drone. It's all model aircraft, so anything sort of up to 25 kilos. Beyond 25 kilos, obviously, you're into the realms of the Large Model Association. And we focus purely on the hobbyists. So again, commercial, we don't sort of cover commercial flying. But what we do find is we support a lot of people that are learning to go for commercial flying. So you might get a lot of people who want to go the commercial route that will join a model flying club to get the stick time and the practice and learn to fly the drone in the first place. And as you mentioned, one of the biggest things with over 30,000 members and the history that we've got is the amount of information and knowledge of information that could be shared amongst members. One of my other hats is a voluntary hat for the BMFA, which is I'm chairman of the Achievement Scheme Review Committee as well. So I'm an employee and I'm actually a volunteer. So I essentially do two jobs. One I get paid for, one I don't. But the Achievement Scheme is all about the A certificates, B certificates. So you can take tests for levels of personal achievement against various different types of aircraft. And this is where I kind of got into it. So obviously you've known me for a few years. I've been flying these guys quite a few years now commercially.
Yes.
It was about 8-9 years ago, after doing the special interest group, I got invited onto the Achievement Scheme Committee to write some tests so that hobbyists had something to aim for and fly. So we did the A cert and the B cert multi-rotor. And again, that's kind of evidence that we've always liked drones as the BMFA.
Yes,
we've done all this stuff several years ago. Since then, we've added an FPV generic extension, which can be covered for sort of normal FPV flying, the hobbyist, sort of the casual freestyle FPV flying, as well as fixed wing. But we've also added an extension for racing FPV. And just at the beginning of this year, we actually launched a camera drone test for an ASA as well, for things like Phantoms, Mavics, and all those kind of aircraft.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the clubs tend to use things like the A certificate that we offer as a benchmark for a basic level of safety. I think Farnham Helicopter used to do it.
Yes, we do. Yes, that's right.
And one of the things that we were coming across was we were starting to get more and more emails from people going, I want to fly a Mavic at this club, but they won't let me because I haven't got an ASA. So we just, okay, so here's the bridge, there's the test, and support that, you know.
Yeah, that's excellent. That is fantastic. And I don't want to make it sound like this is just an advert for the BMFA, but my viewers already know that I have a very positive opinion of the organisation anyway. But it's the same with head office. It isn't some sort of ivory tower head office. You can actually pick up the phone and speak to people at head office. You can also email, and I've always got emails back within sort of, you know, if it wasn't the same day, it's 24, 48 hours later with questions on Article 16 and that type of thing. And it's that little extra bit of backup as well that I think as a hobbyist you can say, okay, I'm thinking of this, and obviously the CAA are extremely busy. It's very hard to get hold of them, and of course they can't really say yes or no to a lot of things. They're not there to sort of give you permission to fly as such. But with the BMFA, both at the local level and national level, you can get advice and feedback where possible, to give you that little bit extra confidence. And I think confidence is the word that I would use the most when I think of my experience of the BMFA so far. It just gives you that bit of extra confidence. And it is that Saturday morning standing in a field with other guys flying their helicopters and, you know, 3D flying helicopters and everything else like that, scaring me senseless. You know, it is that sort of extra confidence of being within the hobby, not just, you know, you're this isolated drone flyer as a hobbyist that sort of sneaks out, flies his drone in the local village and then sneaks back home again. You know, it gives you more confidence on a broader basis, I feel.
I think that's one of the key things you sort of mentioned there slightly about the structure of the BMFA. Yes, we have an office and we are a business to a degree, but the biggest part of us is that we're not just sitting behind a computer screen taking money in for insurance. That's not what we do.
Yes.
You know, insurance is a very big, important part of our membership package, which a lot of people obviously want to take benefit of. But the biggest part of our membership is people like Dave Phipps, our CEO, who basically has been out to Brussels, been out to all these different meetings, sat with the Department for Transport. And when they're bringing in all the new regulations, he sat there, stamped his feet and said, no, we're not going to accept this. We're not going to accept that. But more importantly, because we're a recognised body, there's 32,000 voices behind that stamp of feet. So when our CEO goes out to shout in meetings, you know, it's a big voice. Then you come back and you've got people like Andy Simmons that we need to clone 8 times because he's already doing 8 people's jobs. Andy Simmons is our club support officer. So if you're trying to set up a new club, if you've got a problem at a club, so, you know, anything from minor disputes between members all the way up to legal issues and anything like that in between, forming new clubs and just general support, we've got that covered. We've obviously got the National Centre, which is run very well by Manny Williamson. And you've then essentially got a site there where we can run various different events throughout the year. And the calendar for next year is already looking amazing with things from FPV open days to camera days to helicopter days, you know, aerobatics modelling, glider competitions, you name it, it's all in there. And then obviously myself as the new drone support officer.
Yeah, which I think is just
someone dedicated to that discipline.
Yeah, which I think is great. And as I said to you at the time when you were on the live stream last week, I think you are the perfect person, just from your attitude to other people as well, and the fact that, you know, I've stood and had conversations with you before I knew any of your background and any of your huge experience in drones, and you know, you just stand and talk to people as if, you know, it's just another droner type thing. You're just another hobbyist, which is
we're all friends, and it's all part of the hobby and the fun.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Sorry, Stephen, you're about to say something.
I have a few questions for Chris.
Oh,
okay. So £38 is the yearly membership cost. Is that right?
Yeah, we do various different membership packages. So you can have a senior member is £38, junior, I believe, is £17. In terms of normal BMFA, there is other membership types as well. Like you can do a family membership, so you can have a senior and then juniors attached to it. If you're a group of Cub Scouts, you can also have associate memberships. So you have one person joins, and then you can actually have, you know, various different juniors coming in and out, and you can swap the membership around between juniors. So there's various membership types available. The membership for normal BMFA starts to discount in July, then there's a further discount in September as you sort of creep towards Christmas, because obviously it runs out each December.
Right, so it runs from January, and then it kind of gets cheaper as it goes on.
Yeah.
Is that mainly because of the weather? Because there's less time to fly, or what?
I can't go back too far with the BMFA because obviously I'm still the new boy. But in terms of the January to December for the original standard BMFA, that's probably an aspect of two things. One, it links into a lot of clubs and how they operate, but also it's probably the computer system would probably, you know, the old insurance policy was probably a January to December insurance policy, so that's the membership.
Yes, but it's worth pointing out and reminding everyone that if you join the Drone Flyers
the British Drone Flyers,
it's from the minute you join, so it will renew yearly whenever. If you join in January, then you renew January. Join July, it renews July, basically. So which I think is an excellent idea, because as you say, a lot of those members are going to be detached from local clubs. And for me, I know Farnham run January to January for the memberships. Actually, as Chris was saying, that's how most of the clubs do it, from the point of view of joining. So if you joined that club sort of halfway through, I'd still pay a year's subs to that club, basically, to help support them.
What would be the benefit? I mean, okay, so I'm based in the EU, okay, but obviously I go back to the UK to let's visit my family, and I want to fly. I want to visit companies and all the rest of it. What would be the benefits to me, let's say, joining the actual association?
There's various benefits. Obviously, first off is insurance. You know, everyone should consider insurance when they fly a drone. When you fly a drone for a hobby, there's no legal requirement for insurance, but it's obviously a very, very good idea. Commercial insurance, as you're probably well aware, is the different one. It has to meet EC 785/2004 regulations. So that's one of the main ones, is the insurance. There's a couple of other benefits. One is the access to the Article 16. So when you look at how the open categories have come in and the regulations, when you take the A1, A2, A3 open categories, unless you've got a Mavic Mini that sits in A1, or you do the A2 qualification, the certificate of competence, so you can fly up to 2 kilo legacy aircraft in A2, everything you're going to fly, so Mavics, Phantoms, and Spires, it all goes straight into the A3 open category, at which point you've got to be 150 meters away from this. You can't fly in this area. The Article 16 just opens up a few more doors in terms of you can be 50 meters from this instead of 150 meters. So, you've got that increased flexibility from the Article 16. So that's probably the key benefit to being a member. So when you look at some of the regulation changes, there's a lot of people that, and it's another myth that we come across a lot as a BMFA, is that we can't do anything anymore because all the rules have changed. Actually, if you're a BMFA member and you've got access to Article 16, nothing's changed. It's just, carry on as it was before.
Yeah.
Okay. So this really leads me, so would it actually benefit me, not from a professional point of view, but more from a hobbyist, because I am a hobbyist as well as a professional. So, would it benefit me to actually join the association for when I might be in the UK for 2 weeks of the year or something, 3 weeks of the year. It just depends. It could be more, it could be less, but would the benefits, not just me, but anyone coming over to the UK,
anyone coming over to the UK, we can sort out insurance. I believe there might even be a temporary policy through the BMFA, but Andy Simmons, if he was part of this group tonight, he'd be able to tell us for sure on that one.
Yes, he's in the chat, actually.
He's in the chat. So if we ask Andy, he might be able to figure that out. One thing that I can say with the insurance is our insurance does actually then cover you to fly overseas as well, as long as you're following the law. So the only real requirement for our insurance is that you're flying lawfully. So, for example, I could buy a drone, be registered in the UK, take the drone over to Ireland, for example, which is where my wife's family is from. And as long as I follow the regulations over there, I register it if I need to get the operator ID for them, then the insurance would cover me out there as well.
Yes, one thing Andy's saying in the chat actually is that you do need to have a UK address to be a full member, but they do have a 30-day temporary membership option, as Chris thought, actually, which is handy.
I knew there was something temporary that was possible. But,
yes. There is one thing about Article 16 as well, which is important to know, which is actually Article 16 is a bubble, not a column. Many of the new laws are columns. So even as an A2 CofC holder, at the moment I can't get within 50 meters of uninvolved people with my A2 CofC. But if I'm flying recreationally at my park and I take the mitigating actions, I can take off within 15 meters of uninvolved people with the same Mavic drone. So it really, as Chris said, it kept the hobby open for the park flyer, especially for people taking their helis to be tested at, to do hover testing at the local park like they've always done, and FPV flyers and things. It really has helped the hobby stay open in terms of that. So Chris, as someone who obviously is now essentially representing drone members, can you tell us a bit about yourself? I noticed there's a couple of very cool looking drones behind you. You are a professional operator as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so for about the last several years, I've run a company called Altitude Aerial Photography. This is Bmfa, and that's Arthur. These are the two heavy lift drones. I've got Steady Eddie and Stable Mabel, which are a couple of S900 medium lift drones. Speedy Pete, a couple of Inspires, and then we've got Little Nibbler, which is a Mavic, and then we've got Baby Bell, which is a Mavic Mini. They all get named by my customers in case anybody thinks I'm bizarre. I normally run competitions on Facebook. This one got the first name due to Cheryl Baker from Bucks Fizz. Basically, we were flying for Dancing on Ice, and she walked in and she went, "F me, that's a Big Bertha." So it got nicknamed Big Bertha. And then it kind of spooled off from there. So we do TV. Mostly that's our bread and butter. We also do quite a bit of surveying. We've had a permit for aerial work, which became a permit for commercial operation, which then obviously from the 1st of January became an operational authorization. And for about the last 5 years, we've had an operational safety case. So whereas you normally wouldn't be allowed to fly 50 meters from the public, we can fly 5 meters from the public at takeoff, 10 meters in flight with these ones. We can also fly 30 meters from open air assemblies. Well, assemblies of persons as it's now described, because it's a different definition, of course. We can also fly up to 600 feet. We can also do autonomous surveying through London, which is not EV loss, it's not BV loss, it's kind of a hybrid. Part of our OSC essentially. And the other aspect is I also get involved in light swarms. So we do light shows. So some of the other things that I've been involved with over the years have been bespoke drones, so custom models. So if anyone saw Chitty Flies Again, the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang revamp with David Williams, I was involved in test crashing, I would say, the prototype rather than test flying, because it was never going to fly, the original. It was when I came in, it was just far too heavy. 25 kilo bottles of water were being added to do the CFG rather than trying to take weight off the other end. So it's a bit of a fight to the end. Dave Fisher actually got to fly the final one, and we were there to film it. Fast and Furious Live, I designed radio-controlled heat-seeking missiles, radio-controlled torpedoes to drive around and fly around the arena. Just sort of various bits and pieces like that.
Yeah,
and a few really cool stuff I'm not allowed to disclose.
Yeah, I can remember from the Bmfa WhatsApp group the pictures you used to post of the different projects you were working on, and sort of the trying to work out how to get some of them out of your lounge again once you'd started building them, and that sort of thing. So yeah, So we do have someone in Chris Bradbury from the point of view that you have a vested interest in the future of drones, and being the voice of drones for the Bmfa, from the point of view that it isn't just a hobby to you, although it's a hobby that you're very passionate about, but it is your income stream as well, and a very serious one. So I mean, I think that's good, because we do have someone that we often hear a lot from viewers that the regulators, CAA, FAA, all around the world, they're not drone flyers. These people that are sort of representing us or making rules, they're not drone flyers. And of course, with all of the groups, with FPV UK and BMFA, etc., they are groups of people that are passionate about the hobby and anything multi-rotor at all, frankly. And it's good to have that in you, frankly. So as I say,
I started building drones in 2007. We used to have to make our own control boards by taking the Nintendo nunchucks apart to get the accelerometers, and hot gluing them together and hoping that the two boards stayed at 90 degrees, because if it started to get warm, it would tip, and then it all went to Pete on. I mean, I'm sitting on my desk here at the moment, and I've got my little 3.5-inch racer sitting next to me. So, I don't just fly for a living. I fly for fun. I fly airplanes.
That's awesome.
I fly helicopters, gliders, drones.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of everything. So
And
it's kind of trying to build that bridge as well between regular model flying and the drone community as well, and stop it being a them and us. It's
exactly
just us. It's just us. It's all of us. You know.
Exactly, and that's one of the points I've always made whenever the BMFA comes up on my channel, from the point of view that you know, it's worth finding a club that you feel comfortable in and that are comfortable with drones, because you know there are a lot of fixed wing clubs out there for obvious reasons, can't take multi rotors on and that type of thing, and there are a few woolly jumper clubs out there. I will admit, even myself, but there are lots and lots of clubs that are very open and welcoming. When I looked for a club, I found a few and actually chose the Farnham Club out of a list, as it were, of clubs that were very, very welcoming, and it does give you that support mechanism, and I do feel like I was more in the hobby basically than any time previous to that, of just sort of having to Google things and just find things out like that. So it is fantastic, and there is the social side, there is the fly-ins that you can go to at other clubs and that type of thing, and the stuff that happens at BMFA head office as well. So it does give you, this isn't just I suppose it's more than just a digital thing. Yeah, exactly. Which as anybody that watches my channel will certainly know that I'm very much into the community of the hobby. So here's a good question for you, Chris. Where do you see the drone hobby in the next 5 to 10 years?
Ooh, good question. I mean, drone tech is going to evolve. We're going to hopefully get some C1, C2 class drones at some point that we can start to make use of with the low speed modes, and get the full access to the 4 kilo limits of A2, for example. In terms of the hobby, I'd like to see a lot more integration. I think one of the other myths, and it came up a couple of times when we were at Weston Park, was just chatting to people where they blame drones for the new regulations. You know, things like Gatwick certainly didn't help, and they say we never had rules until drones came out. The air navigation orders have been there for years, and the rules that we have now are actually more relaxed than the rules that we had under the old air navigation orders. You know, there's actually been slight increases in what we can and can't do with the A1 category for the Mavic Minis, for example, and that kind of small drone. The doors have been opened wide compared to what we could do just a year ago. And then things like Gatwick, and you know, that mentality of Gatwick caused the issue when you think, well, the EASA regulations were on their way years before that ever happened.
Exactly.
You know, drones have obviously had part of the regulation changes. They've obviously had an impact of some form, but then so has the way that general manned aviation uses the airspace, plans to integrate autonomous delivery drones, for example, whenever that happens, if it happens, as well as just changes to model flying. If I go back just 5 years, maybe, with normal model aircraft, well, actually, I'll go back about 12 years, about 15 years is roughly when I joined. I was one of the very early adopters of electric models. You know, when I first started flying, it was all still a lot of IC. You can go to a lot of clubs now and it's all electric, and IC models are now deemed as loud or noisy.
It's strange when someone fires one up, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
They're not noisy. It's just everyone's got used to quiet now. It's a different way of looking at things. But if you go back 5 years, even just 5 years, learning to fly model aircraft was still the same. If you wanted to try and do it yourself in the park, you crashed a lot. And that was one of the beautiful benefits of joining a club. It's like you were saying earlier, you get the fountain of knowledge, you get the wealth of camaraderie and information and support, people on buddy boxes that can help you, you know, fly or set up a model for you. Whereas now, even fixed wing and helicopters, you can buy something out of a box that will hover itself, fly itself. Things like the Parrot Disco plane, you've got the Blade 230 helicopter with the bailout save button. So technology as a whole has changed, not just drones. I think that's a key myth.
Yeah, indeed. I can see that continuing, because we have seen a new side of the hobby with the Mini 2, and as long as that sub 250 gram allowance continues with the CAA, then there's a lot of people coming into the hobby that aren't really droners as such, and you know they have a drone, so they're not really part of the hobby per se. So yeah, it is.
But this is where I think it is quite different between the model aircraft side and the drone side. Even though you know, Chris, you were saying that you welcome the drones and all the rest of it, and the BMFA. They do welcome it, and of course, they have to in a sense, but you do. But you know, I think that the difference is that the model aircraft, let's say community, have always respected the rules. They've always respected, you know, the ability to not, let's say, overstep.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
has always been there. And you have the drone people now who look at it and go, this can fly 10 kilometers if it's, or 6 if if it's CE. I'm going to just fly it. Whereas the model, aircraft wouldn't do that. You know, they would keep, they would have a respect for each other. They would have a respect for the community. You know, this is the difference.
I think one difference there, though, is well, though, Stephen, is the fact that a camera drone is something which you will go out to all sorts of locations to use. Whereas, of course, historically with the RC hobby, it was the local park or your local club. It would be the same area that you would go to fly at to test the next to fly that scale heli and that type of thing. So I think the transient nature of drones, multi-rotor drones, have really changed it from that point of view. So of course, then if you're traveling away and you're no longer in the safe confines of a club field, you're going to have more trouble. You're going to have more issues. But yes, you certainly didn't have too many people having competitions to see how far they could take the latest fixed wing model or something like that. That's never really been in the psyche of the RC hobby generally.
I think Stephen raises one good point there, which is something that we try very hard at the BMFA to do. And just next weekend, I'm going off to Duxford Imperial War Museum. We're going to spend 3 days down there as the BMFA. We'll have a few thousand visitors in and out, and we'll be educating. So one of the things there, I mean, a valid point in terms of, how people use the drones, and they might kind of be a bit more adventurous, should we say, with what they should and shouldn't do. I think there's definitely an element of people who will do silly things because it's more interesting. So buying, say, a Mavic Mini, for example, I always keep saying the Mavic Mini because it's just sat next to me here.
Yes.
But it's probably one of the easiest drones that everyone knows. It's a small drone. You can do a lot with it. Flying it around a model flying club is actually really boring because all you're looking at is grass field. So they want to take it to see something interesting. Want to go and fly it around a church spire or around a monument, or take it on holiday with them and capture the brilliant selfies. But if I think back to when I started flying, I've been into radio control cars since I was 3 years old. So radio control has been a passion of mine since I was a child. And I got my first camera when I was 5 years old. And I think my parents put my first roll of film in it when I was 9 years old, after 4 years of running around clicking. But anyway, when I started model flying, it was because I'd gone into a model shop in Bournemouth, and the guy was flying a little counter-rotating helicopter around the shop. And I said to him, how hard are they to fly? And he knew me well, and he just stuck the transmitter in my hand, and I had to go in the shop. Best sales pitch ever, because I came home with it. That evolved into a Mini Titan 450 size helicopter. And it was at that point where I thought, maybe I shouldn't fly this in the garden because it didn't feel safe. But at that point, I knew nothing about air navigation orders, regulations. Nothing had ever been mentioned to me. I got to the flying club, and then one of the first things they said to me was, good job you didn't fly it in the garden. You probably would have been breaking the law. And I was like, what? And I think that's probably where we're at to a degree with some drone users. There'll be a lot of people who will pick up a drone and think, this is probably a little bit dangerous. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And then there'll be a few people just think, this is cool. It flies itself. It's nice and safe. I'll go and do X, Y, Z with it, and it's all cool. We need to just poke with a stick and.
I had the exact same when I got my first ever drone, and I've been thinking, I've been having this kind of vision of being able to take photos of the area and whatnot, and I got my drone, and I was super excited. I'd done everything I had to do with it, and then I had it on the ground, and I was about to fly, and I had this sudden, this sudden overcome of responsibility. And I actually couldn't fly it. I actually could not fly it. And I thought, I need to do this properly. I cannot do this right now. It wasn't a case of, I've got a drone, I'm going to fly it. It was literally a case of, I can't do this right here. I need to go somewhere else. And that for me was the sense of responsibility, is that this is not just something that just flies. This is aviation.
No, absolutely, which is how people need to look at it. But again, the final advert for the BMFA, you have those moments like I did, all these sort of crisis moments with my little Bebop one, which could sometimes barely lift off the ground, bless it, but I still love that drone. It's still hanging on the wall at home. But it was the confidence that being in those groups gave me, from the point of view that I could ask people like Chris, who was just another member of that club at the time, and with all that experience, and I was able to say, what am I doing wrong here, and how can I do this, and get answers from people that had not made the mistakes, but had the experience of the flying as well. And of course I had the little BMFA field that I could fly and crash and not worry about, if it crashes over there into a clump of grass, it really isn't an issue. That's exactly what it's here for. And I certainly won't be the cheapest, or also the most expensive crash of the day, because some of those helis, when they go down,
a few hundred quid. Yeah.
cost a few hundred quid to repair. So yes,
that's
it's
the beauty of the club, isn't it? It's the camaraderie of being amongst like-minded people. There's the support, there's the information, but it's just a safe environment for the most part. Most clubs are a farmer's field away from stuff.
Yes.
Just coming back to one of the questions you asked, actually, in terms of the future of model flying, I think we're starting to see it now, which is where we have more and more clubs becoming multi-use sites. So just thinking of where you are down in sort of the Farnham area, obviously Farnham is a helicopter club. They embrace drones very quickly, but they can't fly fixed wing off that site for various reasons. I think it's their tenancy agreement.
Yes.
But just down the road, you've got Basingstoke Model Aero Club. I used to be chairman of that club, and one of the issues we sort of came across is that when the FPV started coming out, we had a hovering area at one end where we could go and hover helicopters and hover drones. But when it came to doing racing, we couldn't put racing gates all over the runway, because then it interferes with the fixed wing, and you sort of get a little bit of a clash. But they've already now extended their site, so they've actually got a smaller area just around the corner, which is now designated for. It's all got FPV gates over it permanently, and it's set up.
Wow,
for drones.
That's nice.
Just up the road from them as well, towards Newbury, you've got Skylark Model Flying Club. Again, they've got their dedicated fixed wing helicopter, bit of everything runway. You can still go and fly FPV drones out there, but then they've also got a 1 acre field which is set up. Again, they can put gates out and it won't interfere. So I think that's one of the things that we need to encourage more clubs to adopt, is how to integrate. So I think, another myth that we were getting at Western was that, I can't go to a model flying club because they don't like drones. There are going to be some clubs out there like that. We're not going to deny it. But every club I go to, I'm an area chief examiner for the BMFA, and I've been an ace for the South. I'm now an ace for the Northwest. Now I've moved. Every club I go to, they will accept drones. And it's not what you fly, it's how you fly. And I always use this as an example. I had an argument with an old club chairman years ago who was very anti-helicopters. So for anybody who feels like they have leprosy because they have a drone when they go to the club, trust me, helicopter pilots, we've been facing it for years as well. So we feel your pain. But he had an argument with him and he said, we don't like helicopters because all they do is sit in the middle of the runway and hover. So I took off with a third scale extra 2.5 meter wingspan, did a circuit, put it into a prop hang in the center of the runway for 7 minutes, finished the circuit and landed. Just to prove the point, it's not what, it's how.
Yeah, exactly.
So if there's a clash at a model club, it's not because they're drones, it's because they might want to put gates on the runway, which stops the fixed wing, or the learner is going out and just, fair enough, probably sitting in the middle of the runway hovering. So what the clubs need to maybe do is not go, you just can't fly here, you're a nuisance. How can we integrate it? How can we say, okay, well, let's make a hovering area, and a hovering area only needs to be maybe 5 meters by 5 meters at the end of the pits, at one, down at one end, out of the way of the main flight line. And a learner has somewhere to go and learn to manually hover or set up and do a test flight on something like a Mavic or a Phantom, for example. Keep saying DJI drones. Other brands are available.
They do exist, exactly.
They do exist. So anything can be integrated into a club, and I would like to urge a lot of clubs to do that. And I would suggest to people, if they're trying to join a club and getting resistance, and it's the same thing I say to people when I do a commercial talk. If you get somebody that comes over to attack you for flying a drone in an area, don't be aggressive back, go passive and try to work out a peaceful solution.
Exactly.
So if someone comes up to me all aggressive because we're flying this outside the Savoy in London, I don't tell them F off and mind their own business. I'll stop flying and give them 5 minutes of my time and talk to them and treat them as a civil person, hear their complaint.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing I do as well. Yeah. Always show them what you're doing and try to help them. Yeah. Because you can educate them, at the same time.
It is it's an interesting one. We do have a video on the channel on how to avoid drone confrontation, and we've actually got some A5 PDF leaflets that people can print off, and it explains to them why they can't necessarily stand around chatting because there's a drone in the air that they're controlling. So please wait till I land. But it's also got a couple of QR codes on there to scan things like the drone safety map and the drone code, so that they know that the person flying feels that they're flying legally, basically. So at least that answers a lot of those questions. So, but yeah, it's all about neutralizing the confrontation wherever possible.
I'd just like to say that I mean, you've probably seen this on social media, that you have these T-shirts saying, there's a list or something on the back that says, yes, it's got a camera, yes, it can go far, blah blah blah, and yes, leave me alone. And I'm so against those things, because that's just so passive aggressive towards the public, and you should really sit down and communicate with the public and say, look, I mean, I've said this before on this channel quite a few times, but and I'll just say it again. I often get people coming up to me, even old age pensioners, and you show them the remote and you show them it, and they kind of go, wow, I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know it was like this. I thought everything is all wrong, which I thought that 5 minutes can change someone's perception.
Yeah, no, it can.
I mean, really change,
It takes all kinds as well. And I understand that we're not all sort of, diplomats and that type of thing. And some of us just want to fly our drone, especially if they're constantly bothered. Just to answer one question in the chat, Alan Tay, hi, good to see you. I'm a new hobbyist. I just bought my Mini 2. Well done, fantastic drone. Welcome to the hobby. If I join and register with the British Drone Flyers, do I still have to join a local flying club? No.
No, you can be what we call us as a country member, essentially. So BMFA membership is always on the individual. The insurance and everything is part of a big policy that every individual is covered under. So even if you're a member of a club, there's nothing to say you can't go and fly at another club. You can't then go and fly in the local park as long as you're following the regulations. You can't fly in your own back garden. It's all, we're just here. We're not here as regulators. So we don't enforce anything. We don't enforce any rules other than asking that you fly lawfully. So another myth out there is that I have to have an A certificate to be insured. That's a myth. You don't have to have that. It's just something that we encourage because it helps improve piloting ability. Just a comment there from Andy as well, you're saying about setting up a club. That's probably another aspect of the future, I think, for the modeling side of things. I think a lot of people who fly FPV drones, it's probably 3 or 4 mates that just go down a park, go down the woods. And I think it'd be great to encourage more people to form clubs. Especially even just drone-only clubs.
It would be fantastic to have some.
And in terms of making a club, we make it so complicated at the BMFA. I kid you not, it is the hardest thing in the world to be an affiliated club. You have to have a staggering 5 members and fill out 2 online forms and pay nothing.
and
hard.
and have lots of support from people like Andy who will help you as well. So.
You get 5, you get yourself and 4 mates. You all have to be BMFA members or BDF members, obviously. You've got that choice as well now. You fill out 2 online forms and you get all the help in the world from us. To make people aware as well, if you do affiliate as a club, the insurance that we provide, the basic public liability is 25 million. So that's a class leading insurance anyway. When you're a member, you also get personal injury. So if you manage to chop off a finger with a propeller, there's some insurance payout for that. Obviously, we don't recommend sacrificing fingers. It's not a good thing to do, especially thumbs.
Only if you're flying Big Bertha.
Yeah, they take hands off.
Oh, don't! Ouch.
So the insurance does go further already than just public liability. But when you affiliate as a club, there's also additional indemnity policy. So, for example, if you set up a club and you're renting a plot of land from a farmer, and something happens and it's the farmer that's getting sued because of your activity, the insurance starts to sort of expand out to cover them as well. There's also things like equipment cover, I believe, as well. So if you've got a lawnmower or, that you keep on site in a locked container, for example. So there's other benefits to being affiliated. And like I said, considering that's free and it's only 2 pieces of paper, it's a really
Yeah.
very, very simple thing to do.
I would love to see British drone flyer clubs springing up all over the country as well.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely fantastic, because it would have a different tilt to it, frankly. So it's an interesting one. Perhaps we'll set up a Geeksvana British drone flyers group to show people how, and do a little video series on finding a site, and how to do it, and that type of thing. That might help people promote it within the drone hobby as well. So
the thing to do is literally just go door to door and ask for a bit of land. A lot of farmers, a lot of farmers might have a small patch of land that is actually hard for them to farm because it's not particularly fertile land, for example. It doesn't do much, so it's difficult. They might only be able to make £100 to £200 a year out of turning it over. So if you go down there and offer them £400 an acre to rent the land, and then obviously fly over the surrounding areas, they're probably going to be really pleased to have you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have deals like the one in Farnham where we occasionally have sheep in the field with us, and sometimes a couple of horses and things, which some of the members, especially the new members, they're a bit but actually these sheep are so used to the buzzing and everything else going on, frankly, that we're more worried about them eating our tables and things than any kind of conflict. So yeah, no, it is easy to approach these farmers and find a site. It's just nailing one down sometimes, but just perseverance. And just imagine having a British Drone Flyers Club in your local area with all the gates set up and everything else like that, and somewhere you can go on a Saturday and just chill out with your fellow flyers. Would just be
that's the biggest thing. Is that whole social aspect can be amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Andy Simmons is actually commenting away. I believe he's probably on the British Model Flying Association.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Andy is the club support officer. So if you want to affiliate as a club, Andy at bmfa.org, he'll be able to help you, or you can email me, Chris at bmfa.org. But also with Andy there, I forgot what I was going to say now in terms of affiliating a club. No, I'll come back to it in a minute. It's gone out of my head. Yeah, no, it was essentially about how other things that are beneficial and how we can help you out, really, essentially. But yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute.
No, indeed. So yeah, no, I mean that is pretty much everything that I had for you this evening. So it's I really appreciate you coming on. You, as I said, I saw you on the drone racing club stream as well, so you're already getting out and about there, which is fantastic. It's good for the drone hobby to have our BMFA representative out there talking to people, especially someone who is as knowledgeable as you. I'll stop blowing up your ego now.
Yeah, I've got to get my head out of my office.
Yeah, that's it. But I am genuinely excited to have a true drone flyer representing myself as a BMFA member, a drone only BMFA member. I am really excited about having someone like you represent us. So thank you, and keep up all the amazing work, frankly.
I've just remembered the other things I was going to say 2 seconds ago in terms of affiliating a club. We also have templates for things like license agreements. So if you find a landlord and you want to get something drawn up, we've got agreement templates, constitution templates as well. So we've got all those kind of documents that, if you're going to be a committee and set something up, it's always easy to say 5 mates, 10 mates, 20 mates that's going to have fun in the field. But what if one mate decides to be a prize prat and start causing problems? How do you get rid of that person? So having a constitution is always a very, very important thing to think about. So it protects everybody.
Absolutely. Having the club run properly. I mean, when I joined Farnham, and they have a club secretary, they have a chairman, they have a safety officer, and I kind of felt like, this does feel a bit woolly jumper almost. But actually, all of those functions and the constitution of the club keeps things in line, because as we have new and old blood mixing and new members coming in, old members leaving, there is that consistency of the constitution from the point of view that everyone knows the club rules, and if anything happens, we can just refer back to them and just say, there you go, those are the club rules, because then it's not an argument, it's not a fight, it is this is how it's done. And then we have our AGMs where you can potentially raise, can we change this rule, can we do this, can we change things like this, etc. So no, I completely agree with that. It's a very good point.
That was my question. I was going to ask you, do you have any national meetup? Do you have any board meetups where you have members from, let's say, around the country can actually join and meet people from like let's say around the country? Do you have those kind of meetups?
Yeah, we've got our first one tomorrow for camera drone operations. So, not tomorrow, Saturday. Sorry, I keep thinking it's Friday, but it's Thursday. So the BMFA has hundreds of events a year, as I mentioned earlier. And since I've started with the BDF, we've already started formatting some drone-based ones. So there's an event we call Bob every year, which is Blades over Buckminster. Traditionally, that's always been helicopters. We've now integrated drones into that.
Cool.
Saturday is going to be the first trial of camera drone day trips, where we've actually got 5 people already signed up for Saturday. They're going to come down. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the morning for about an hour. We're going to talk through the really boring stuff of how to do a risk assessment, make sure it's legal and safe to fly somewhere. Then we're going to go to a site, actually have a fly, and then people can actually pick my brains and ask me, what's the best way to do this on a location. So the kind of that site recce and safety aspect side of things.
That is such a good idea.
And then we'll go back to the Buckminster site where we have the hangar and meeting rooms. We're going to use a large monitor, and I can teach them a little bit about Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere Pro, whichever kind of editing software they want to use. We've just been doing the diary this week for most of next year at Buckminster. We've got 2 or 3. We're trying to work out on exactly what we're going to do, but the idea is we're going to set up a FPV racing circuit. But rather than it being a racing event, which can often put off amateurs coming along and having a go, because they think, well, I'm going to be knocked out on the first hour of day 1, so why bother? The idea is we'll literally just run it a bit like a fun fly event. So you just turn up, we'll have the circuit open, come and put battery after battery, and it will just be a pegboard. Put your peg up, take your peg off, see the channels, race all weekend. We're going to look at possibly getting some timing circuits, not so that you can race necessarily against people competitively, but you can take bragging rights against the mates that might have gone with you.
Yeah.
You can do what I was doing at Weston Park. So Weston Park this weekend was actually my very first go at going through racing gates, and I really loved it. So I can't wait to do more. Having done this for years, these don't go through racing gates very well.
No, yeah, indeed.
But the idea is, we're going to get the gates out, set up a circuit, and we'll have a whole weekend essentially of just come and have a go and do as much as you want or as little as you want. You can camp on site. There are shower facilities, toilet facilities. And then do more camera drone days. So essentially next year there'll be at least half a dozen various different events that people can come along to for both racing drones and camera drones, or both.
Excellent. There's actually somebody, Digital Samurai, in the chat saying he'll be there. So that's possibly one of your people that are coming along. Just to answer a question from Alan Tay, actually, he said thanks for the response. That's the new hobbyist. Would it be better to join the BMFA, the British Drone Flyers, rather than the BMFA? I please advise the terms of benefit of either two. I would say you're probably better off with the British Drone Flyer, just from the point of view that the BMFA membership does have the magazine which focuses on the entire hobby, but has a lot of RC stuff in there, helicopter flying, fixed wing, etc. But the drone one has the digital drone specific and camera drone specific PDF magazine, which I think so that would probably benefit you more. And in fact, Andy's also answering you in the chat as well. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, to add to that, in terms of if you join as a BDF member, you can still download a digital version of the BMFA news from the website. So you can still get, the balsa stuff, the helicopters, the gliders, you can still get all of that. It's just, it doesn't get delivered to your doorstep. I think the thing to look at is, in terms of if you're deciding to join BMFA or BDF, the BDF is, like I said, it's more drones, it's more focused on drones, the information is more drones. So if you're someone who leans 90% towards drones, the BDF membership is probably going to be the best one. You can still fly helicopters, you can still fly planes, you can still go to BMFA clubs, you've still got the full support. Exactly. If you're somebody that flies a bit of everything and wants to join a local club, then the BMFA might still be the best option. It's down to individuals. The core package is the same for both. You still get class leading insurance on both, access to Article 16 on both, full support from people like myself, Andy, and all the teams and all the volunteers that work at the BMFA, because that's one thing. I mean, we've got a team of staff, we've got the ladies in the office, and we've got probably 100 volunteers that run different technical committees and give up hundreds of hours a year to support everyone else. So they're I can't name them all because I'd be
indeed. No, exactly. But no, that's absolutely fantastic. Go on. Yeah, please do.
One last benefit just to add, because Andy will slap me on Saturday if I don't mention it. We also have the Vectus loyalty card. So if you sign up as a BMFA or BDF member, you can pay £3.50 and get a membership card. The membership card allows you to build up discounts. So, for example, you can buy vouchers through the online voucher scheme and you get 8% off for places like Curry's. So Andy bought his Mavic Mini from Curry's by buying the vouchers online first. and saved 8%. So he got 50 quid off his Mavic Mini 2.
Very nice.
And you think our membership's £38. We've got a £3.50 membership card. He's already saved that and £10 more. So he's already in profit. I think he's saved over £300 in total this year using the Vectus card.
Yes, indeed. And that's actually a good point you make as well.
Stephen, because I know Stephen runs Flyby, but we've got a discount scheme available with the A2 as well. Other A2 suppliers are available, but we do have a very good deal with the UAV Academy where we actually get, if you join as a member, BMFA or BDF, you can get a discount through UAV Academy and do the A2 qualification.
Yes, we also have a sponsor, so we won't talk too much about that one either.
Yeah, no, I know I'm probably treading on toes, but I have to say.
No, indeed. And as you were saying, for the extra £3.50, you do get. I'm trying to get mine out of the card. You do get the little BMFA card. Which is actually very useful again because it's a physical sort of little credit cards plastic thing in your wallet. That again, it's another thing that you can show people that I'm insured. There's a little sort of pop-out leaf that you can print off as well, which shows the benefits of it from the insurance. So again, you've got something you can show people in public and who say, "Hey, why are you flying here?" Well, I am insured. You know, I have public liability insurance to be flying here, etc.
But what I think is really important here is the community. That's really that is absolutely the most important thing here is that you have the community and people are actually meeting other people and they're learning and they're inspired, and want to move forward. And if they want to go into the let's say commercial side or something in the future, I think it's really important because I know we have a global community. We do things mostly online and stuff like that, but it's really good to be able to go to
which is actually an interesting point. Yeah, that is an interesting point because when I look back now at some of the questions I used to ask at the club, I laugh now because obviously thankfully now with the A2 CofC, the GVC, and the other training I've done, I know my bits about drones and drone rules now. But no one ever laughed at me. No one ever said, he's asking that. In actual fact, they were pleased that I wanted to know the rules, and they were pleased that I wanted to ask questions about how my drone is flying and how I can do this and how I can do that. And so it is, as you say, it is that community feel, frankly, and that's something that I have personally benefited from hugely as a hobbyist drone flyer. And it was the BMFA membership was the foundation of my hobby flight. So there would be no Geeksvana without the BMFA. There you go. There's an even better advert for you.
I think the biggest benefit of the community is how many people have probably started model flying in general, whether it's helicopters, fixed wing, multi-rotors, and given up because they've tried to do it themselves at home and it's not gone well and they've crashed or they've broken something and they can't afford to fix it. You can sometimes meet people who go £60 to £100 to join a model flying club. That's a rip-off. If you look at a model helicopter like you mentioned earlier, it's £200 for your first crash.
Yeah.
60 quid is actually really cheap.
Don't. If you want to see a grown man cry, go to a 3D helicopter club and watch these guys meticulously put these drones together that can cost 3,000 quite easily with all of the parts, and one false move and this thing is in the ground and broken into pieces. And it's mind-blowing sometimes. One of the things, actually, this is getting a little bit inward on the BMFA, sort of in joke on the BMFA. One of the things I love on a Sunday is, and I don't love it because I don't love the fact that someone's crashed, but I like looking at the other members when I'm sat there sort of getting my little Mavic or my Bebop or now my DJI FPV drone to fly. There'll be a noise or something from one of the 3D helicopters and everyone will look round because they know that noise doesn't mean good things, basically. So there's it's incredible what you learn about aerodynamics, about everything in these clubs, frankly. So but thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you for being so generous with your time. I really appreciate it.
It's nice to get the opportunity to share the information. That's what the BMFA and the BDF are here to do,
which is exactly.
We've got multiple websites. The bmfa.org is a key one. BritishDroneFlyers.org is for the drones. Nationalcentre.bmfa.org is where we hold all our events. On there's a calendar so you can see what stuff. If there's anything on the calendar that says ASRC, that's the Achievement Scheme Review Committee, and we welcome drones. So the ASRC events, it's training. We teach people helicopters, fixed wing, whatever turns up, we'll teach it. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, sir. We will definitely see you again on Geeksvana. As I say, I'm excited to have a true droner in the environment representing us. So we will definitely stay in touch and keep everybody updated as far as what you're up to. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, sir. We'll see you again
Thank
very
you very
soon.
much for the invite. Good to see you again.
Yeah, and you, sir. Bye bye.
Cheers, Stephen.
You press the right button there. There we go, and press the right button here. Oh, I just need to adjust you very slightly. But that was a fantastic insight, wasn't it? Basically, into this new group. Are you taking the Mickey out of my tail? You're a comedian.
He's actually.
You're a comedian.
He's actually a really interesting guy. Actually, I've not been aware
as well.
And the conversations that we were having just before we went on air is like, we have to continue this conversation afterwards.
Yeah, no, indeed. But you have to say, we do hear a lot of feedback from viewers and in the press and everything else like that. Whenever we're talking about drone rules and drone regulations and things changing, that the people that are representing us, they're not drone flyers. They don't know anything about drones. This guy sat there with two M600s sat behind him. But then he's also got the little 3-inch drone within hand grab. So I'm very excited to see where that leads us, frankly. Also, I did say thank you very much to Chris for joining us, but also Andy, thank you for joining us in the chat. I really appreciate it. The BMFA are always welcome here on Geeksvana. I hope everything goes well this weekend for you guys as well with that first meetup. Next up, we're actually going to be talking about this man, because you're spreading your wings a little bit. Not that taking over global drone light shows and the anything commercial drone that even flickers in Finland is something to do with you. Not that any of that is enough for you, frankly. You're now going to be starting to offer drone consultancy, which is pretty cool.
We are, and this has really come, I would say, because I've had lots of requests from people, mainly from the UK. Actually, I have to say that the majority of the people have been from the UK. They've been from outside the UK as well, but I would say 90% is from the UK. And they have been contacting me because they've been watching my videos and they've been watching this show and they felt really kind of inspired to want to start a drone company.
Excellent.
But they didn't know what to do. So they had been starting the research and they had been reaching out to a few people and they hadn't been very helpful. And then they reached out to me because they'd been watching the videos and they thought, well, he seems approachable, so I'll take the chance. And of course, it worked out very well. And I noticed that after every meeting is that they had been saying that, this really saved them so much time. And I was asking them, how much time has this really saved you? And they said, well, from what I can gather, it's been 5 to 6 weeks. So they're saving 5 to 6 weeks research by having a meeting with me.
Yeah, which is superb.
And so we actually productize this a little bit, and we're offering this service where we can help you if you want to start a drone business. Obviously, depending on where you want to go, and of course, I like to have as much information from that person to say where they want to go, what they want to do, where they think they can go, and also give them a bit of a strategy as well, because I've seen many mistakes where I've had people asking me and they've not taken that advice, and I can see that they have it's not working out.
Yeah.
And it's
a very good idea. We do actually have a very quick video, which is a video you put out on your channel, which I'm going to play out probably right now very quickly.
The drone industry has kicked off, but I get a lot of requests from people looking for advice to start their own drone company. Whether you have a company and you need more advice, or whether you're starting your company or you're looking to start a company, make sure you click a link below and you can book a one-to-one meeting with me, and I'll give you all the advice on what to do and what not to do when starting a company. If you already have a company and you're locked and you don't know which way to go, you can also book a meeting with me and I can help you along the way. The Flyby guys have a global network, and we have lots of experience working globally and doing operations globally. So click the link below, book a meeting with me, one-to-one, and we can have a chat and we'll help you out. Fly safe.
Very cool. Who is that guy? I'm putting a link in the chat now for the which actually takes you to the consultancy service page on the flybyguys.com. You know Stephen, he's always here. He's a mind of information. Runs commercial drone operations all over the world. So I think it's, what is it? It's $150 or 150 euros. I can't remember the
$150.
bargain.
$150.
Bargain, frankly.
Save you 6 weeks of work. I mean, that's just nothing. It's peanuts.
Yeah, exactly. So we fully support you in that, and I think it's when I heard you were doing it, I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. Frankly,
I really want to see drone businesses grow, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Ireland, whether it's all over Europe or if it's the US, whatever. I want to see it grow. This is an industry which is going to do very well in the future. Get yourself in now.
Yes, exactly. Just
join us.
Two quick things to mention as well. For anything A2 CofC or GVC related, we of course have our wonderful channel partners Drone Masterclass. There is a link in the description, but I'm also going to pop one in the chat very quickly for you to pop over there and any of your course requirements for the UK. They've also got a couple of other courses coming up quite soon as well. And last night, I had an exclusive first look at their very sexy new Silverstone headquarters. So you can take your A2 CofC literally at the Silverstone race circuit. You can fly your drone over the race circuit when you're training, etc. How cool is that?
I only got photos from the bar.
I know, yeah. You only got a very strange photo of me in the bar, and then of our food. But hey, and for those of you who, a couple of people have asked me on direct message before, and Andrew McQuillan will be back on the channel very, very soon. He's extremely busy with the festival season at the moment, where he's doing a range of services for his clients. But he will be
Can
back
we
on the
be
channel
honest?
very soon.
Can we be honest? He's in a caravan.
Do you know, I think he actually is in a caravan, yes.
He's in a caravan.
That makes it sound wrong, because of course the caravan is how he travels to the different festivals. You're terrible. There's me blowing smoke up your bottom, and then these are the three amigos. Have a bit of loyalty on there. Come on. But also, I also want to give a big shout out and a thank you to our other channel sponsor, Moonrock Insurance. They now have a hobby insurance product out there, which is, I believe it's today that it actually officially launches, which is exciting. There's a link in the live chat. There's also one in the description below as well for anyone that's watching this on the replay. Hi to everyone's watching the replay. You can use Geeksvana 10 to get a 10% discount on your drone insurance, which is absolutely fantastic. And it is a very, very good
bargain.
Yeah, exactly. George Eichen, loving the chat, guys. I've been flying RC from about 1975 and have just bought my first drone and loving it. I've joined the BDF and the channel is excellent. Thank you very much, sir. 1975. I am not ashamed to say that is longer. You have been flying, sir, in the RC hobby, and I will call you sir, if you don't mind, longer than I've been alive, which is just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's nice to see people from the RC moving or actually coming into the drone side as well. I've seen it quite a lot. Like Hanno from Anarchy Labs is also one guy for that, who's come from the RC side, and it's great. It really is. It's really nice to see. So well done, George.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and thank you very much for joining us. And thank you, everybody. There's been a few new names in the chat as well. Thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate it. Especially our new Alan Tay, who is new to the hobby, and said that the information did help, which is fantastic. If any of my shows can help one drone hobbyist in the way that the Bmfa and my local group managed to help me, then I'm happy, frankly. I'm more than happy. Now, we do have a channel update coming up in the next week. It's a video I'm going to be putting out. There's going to be quite a lot of changes, including the changes to how we do our live streams and how you can interact with us and that type of thing, which I'm very, very excited about. And we've got some very cool content which I'm working on, which I cannot talk to you about yet. Very cool content. Is it cool content or is it very cool content?
It's so cool. There's an iceberg floating by outside.
Yeah. Hopefully my channel's not the Titanic though. Hopefully it'll be, I'm some victorious scaler of icebergs.
It's okay. There's a couple of icebreakers not far from it. It's okay.
Okay, awesome. It's going to get broken up, but yes.
We're here in Helsinki, you know. It's Helsinki. We have icebreakers.
Indeed. You are prepared for winter, unlike us over here. The harsher winters, at least. But yes, so have you got anything exciting coming up on the Flyby Guys channel?
I finishing off the day 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 for the drone deliveries, and I have another video which I'm not sure is going to be a 1-minute tip. It could well be a longer video because I was doing it today and I was thinking I can't do this in a minute. There's just way too much to it. So another couple of.
What you're saying is that you're going to give us a longer tip.
A longer tip, yeah. Just a tip.
God, that went wrong. Thank you for bringing that into a very dark place very, very quickly. Excellent. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I really appreciate it. This has been Geeksvana Live. I hope you've enjoyed the chat about the BMFA. As I say, it's not intended as a BMFA advert, but I am pro it, so I'm going to be honest about my own experience of it. And putting someone like Chris Bradbury in charge of the drone side of things was an absolute genius move, in my opinion. And I think we'll see some major movements and some major positive movements in the next couple of years with him at the helm, frankly. So I'm very excited, as you can tell. But that's Absolutely. It for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. One last thing. Thursday Night Live with Ken Heron. I will be on there, not as co-host this time. Unfortunately, Jeff Sills is a little bit under the weather. If you're watching this, Jeff, I hope you get well soon. So I'll be doing the news tonight. That's a bit of pressure, isn't it? I am the Thursday Night Live news guy.
This is the news.
The co-host is Jake Sloan, and it's actually Flight Test, him of nearly 2 million subs, is the guest this evening. And he does some fantastic RC stuff actually on his channel. Some very cool experiments and different things. So I'm looking forward to that. So do pop in and say hi to us if you happen to be up at 1 a.m. UK time, which is 7 p.m. Central Time. But yes, otherwise we'll see you next week.
I'll watch you in the morning when I wake up.
Again, that sounds wrong. Why can't we have nice things, Stephen? Why can't we have nice endings on this stream? It always has to
fly safe.
Fly safe. Squirrel. Yeah, fly safe. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. We are going to be having next week a Microdrone 4 update live.
It gets better. It gets better.
Yeah. Bye-bye.